Hello and welcome to the very special episode from the feared and famous 77th Brigade. In this very special episode, we take a look at Mark Steele, who is mighty upset that John, the peace officer, is sharing my content promoting Raynard Wilson and his Mind of Steel YouTube channel. This revelation came out on Telegram with Mark Steele making this post that read as follows. This individual has been posting all over Telegram pretending to be one of us. He has now started posting links to known Brigade 77 operatives and sex offenders. We now know what the symbol on his uniform means. B4UR1, B4UR1, and B4UR12, B4UR1 too, as his handle on social media. Now we know why he posts negativity and lies about anyone making headway in the freedom resistance movement. It's all in plain sight. He has several people who also support and post his bile across a number of platforms while they block anyone attempting to respond. I have been blocked from responding to this liar after he made phone calls lying about me to others. As we can see, Mark Steele is mighty upset, and just take a look at the man behind the sunglasses who calls everyone a pedophile, who calls out his ludicrous conspiracy and grifting bullshit.
I think you hit the nail on the head. They don't realize how obvious they look if you asked someone to draw a pedo. This is what the picture would look like.
This comment was left on a tweet that I made back on the 26th of October. What is it with Mark Steele's fascination with Satanists and kitty torture? Is it projection of his own deep fantasies? They say the eyes are a window to the soul. I wonder why Mark Steele always wear dark glasses. Here is a rare photo of Steele without his dark glasses.
Satanists losing cover. It's coming out about their kitty addiction to kitty torture.
Mark Settle hides behind his sunglasses and calls everyone who questions his bullshit pedophiles and Satanists. So let's take a look at Mark Steele's political party logo. This is the logo for the registered political party, Save Us Now, that is ran by Graham Steele, who is Mark Steele's twin brother. And yes, you heard that right, Mark Steele has a registered political party and is part of Mark Sexton's I Will Not Comply cult.
My name is Mark Steele. I withdraw my consent to be governed by any corrupt, compromised, belligerent criminal parliament or government. I will not comply.
So much for the non-compliance to government entities while being part of a registered political party. See how all the truthers are being played, and it's all in plain sight. Talking of plain sight, let's get back to this logo of Mark Steele's political party. A few years back, I made this meme decoding Mark Steele's political party logo. As you can see, there is symbolism in plain sight. The 5 points of the pentagram is a saying of Mark Steele, and his logo contains plenty of pentagrams when deconstructed. Like they say, they leave their symbolism in plain sight. Now we have got this out of the way, let's get back to this video shared by John, the peace officer. Davey idly shared an edited video of mine and cut out all traces of me making it, but shared the link to Raynard Wilson's brilliant YouTube channel Mind of Steel. But the link were edited out after someone left a comment on the video.
The Mind of Steel stuff is great, but Raynard Wilson and his pal MC Toon Think You Les and Vaxes are fantastic ideas. Makes it difficult to share around our friends.
I had to edit the cartoon. I should have known better. Was just biting at Steele.
Davey went to great lengths to edit traces of Mohammed Shafiq from the video to have a dig at Mark Steele, but unlike Davey, I'm willing to show his bit of research he has been doing on Mark Steele. See Mark Steele's qualifications. Click the link to see his timeline. This link opens up a well-detailed timeline of Mark Steele's life from 1976 to the current day. Mark Steele CV known and claimed things for Mark Steele, including his obvious lies, created by MC Toon, updated August 9, 2021. Judging from his timeline of his life, he is not qualified in direct energy weapons. Am I missing something here? 4 years and 11 months ago, Mark Steele convicted for using threatening or abusive words to 2 Gateshead city councillors. 7 years and 3 months ago, Eclipse web conference report from the conference. Clicking on this link just shows a blank page. Applied for EU funding as part of the Newcastle Science City, Transforming Tomorrow. Mark Steele is part of a group that applied for EU funding. The funding document mentioned the word SMART 115 times. Clicking on the first link in this section open up a PDF the to Northeast Local Economic Partnership Smart Specialization Report. I will leave the links in the description for those who want to have a read of this report. 25 years ago, Mark Steele obtains a patent for the Revu helmet design article of headwear. 20 years ago, BBC names Billy Morgan as the inventor of the Revu helmet. BBC article. The first link is to a PDF of Mark Steele's patent for his rear view helmet. I will also leave this link in the description for anyone who wants to have a look at this patent by Mark Steele, the so-called weapons expert. The second link is to a BBC article dated Monday, December 2, 2002. Inventor looks back on road safety. An innovative new cycle helmet, invented by a Durham businessman, goes on sale across the country from Monday. The revolutionary piece of headgear contains a mirror, which allows the rider to see behind them without having to turn their head. The helmet's inventor, Billy Morgan, was inspired to invent the helmet after a friend's son was injured in a cycling accident. County Durham-based company Revu, which developed the helmet, claims it is the first of its kind in the world. Revu is the company Mark Steele and his twin brother Graham Steele run that is now dissolved, according to Company House. 28 years ago, Mark Steele studied psychology at the Open University. Mark Steele took a correspondence course while in prison. Yes, you heard that right, the so-called weapons expert was in prison for an act of drunken bravado during a gangland dispute, where Mark Steele shot an innocent teenage girl, leaving a bullet lodged in her head, and with life-changing disabilities, and Mark Steele has the audacity to call himself a weapon expert, while using his psychology degree to brainwash idiots with his fear of modern technology, when he has zero knowledge of what he is talking about. 30 years ago, shot Nicola prison confirmed, as we just mentioned, Britain's most ludicrous conspiracy theorist who has the audacity to call himself a weapons expert got 8 years for shooting Nicola Lumsden in the head in 1993. He had no remorse and even tried to appeal his 8-year sentence. Just a few months after sentencing, in August of 1994, but Mark Steele's appeal was rejected by the High Court, where he stood against Lord Justice Farquharson, where Steele was told, "The tragedy which you caused to Nicola Lumsden and her family is a perfect example of the reason why those who carry and are prepared to use guns must be severely punished. The sentence, in my view, an appropriate sentence for the reasons given by the judge. Her Honor," Judge Palling said when passing sentence at Newcastle, in a court in a city with which she is familiar. "There are too many guns in this city, it is too easy to come by them." She then went on to indicate that there are too many incidents in the nightclub scene in the city of Newcastle, also Gateshead, over which the shadow of violence hangs, and it was necessary to underline that those who bring guns onto the streets of that city, or indeed any city, and who use them, are going to receive condign punishment, which will be different in its nature. The sentence of 4 years, for an offense carrying a maximum sentence of 5 years, a concurrent sentence of 8 years, for an offense which carries the maximum sentence of life in prison, in our judgment, are in no way excessive, but are wholly in line with the gravity of the offense, and is wholly appalling and sadly foreseeable consequences. The application is dismissed. For 13 years, welder, fitter, laborer, not researcher, claimed research in energy sector, certainly a lie. M. Steele's Leisure Limited. Mark and Graham Steele register a gambling company. 47 years ago, walked out on physics exam.
Well, you're the one with GCEs, ain't ya?
B4UR1 Media then goes on to say, "My guess is that Mark Steele is disrupting the 5G movement. He puts more focus on the street lamps than he does the huge death towers that are everywhere. You was doing so well until the death towers bullshit, and this is where the problem lies within the Truther movement. People will spot the grifters like Mark Steele and try and warn others, but they still hold a deep belief in what the grifters preach. Prime example is B4UR1 Media saying death towers. The conspiracy factor still remains deep within their mind, and thinking phone masts are death towers still plays into the anti-5G narrative, which has been proven by MC Toon to be totally laughable garbage from uneducated numpties. All the things just mentioned can be found on MC Toon's website under the section about Mark Steele. MC Toon has done extensive research on Mark Steele and has proven many times that Mark Steele don't have a clue what he is talking about when it comes to telecommunications and basic physics. I will leave links in the description to Mick Toon's website and his YouTube channel in the description. Now let's get back to this spat between the peace officers and Mark Steele. The peace officers have been posting this post all over Telegram trying to expose Mark Steele. But it wasn't until the peace officers B4UR1 and B4UR12 posted a clipped down video made by Mohammed Shafiq promoting Raynard Wilson's YouTube channel Mind of Steel in a Family Guy parody that made Mark Steele flip his lid. And a post was made to Mark Steele's Telegram channel, but we know that this was not written by Mark because there is punctuation and it's not written in with the caps lock on, but the post reads as follows. Undercover BBC journalist John McIntyre had been infiltrating the truth movement since before COVID came around. Him and his slimy wife have been infiltrating many groups and organizations to cause division and doubt in people's minds. John has called his friends at the police to help him as he's being exposed. He has then kept coming into groups lying, goading and prodding us, ruining any police investigation he would want to even try. John, the evidence is flying in about you. Full expose coming soon on him and his wife, both BBC undercover journalists. Remember, the BBC covered for Jimmy Savile for years and still have the sculpture up of Eric Gill above the BBC HQ, a prolific rapist who abused his own children and pet dog. If B4UR12 or B4UR1 or B4UR2 enter your groups, get rid unless you want a mainstream media hit piece on you. As you have seen over the years, we have had many hit pieces from mainstream press to try and ruin us, and this is just another desperate attempt. The undercover BBC reporter is very desperate, another attempt to stump the truth and put you back to sleep. Don't fall for the traps, just keep looking forward. Thank you to all the people that's been in touch recently with information on John McIntyre. Looks like this man has done this to a lot of good people. These two posts on Mark Steele's Telegram channel that has over 22,000 followers didn't gain much traction, with less than 100 reactions left on the main.
You've got no friends!
The bickering continued with another post going out on the Mark Steele Telegram channel. John McIntyre, B4UR1 hold on a minute, B4UR12 dresses as a member of the press like a BBC reporter in Gaza, very distasteful, dresses up as a police officer, very concerning. Calling your media company B4UR12 red flag time. This man is keep posting lots of lies to discredit and cause division across many social media groups, links back to no sex offender associates, fake accounts McToon and Sal Fadley. This truther spat continued with B4UR1 making a post aimed at Mark Steele that read as follows. Here is B4UR1 B4UR1 Mark Steele is a plonker. The following post from B4UR1 read as follows. B4UR1 response to Mark Steele's post about me. Mark said I've been pretending to be one of us. I haven't been pretending to be like Mark, nor do I aspire to that. He stated I posted links to Brigade 77 operatives and sex offenders. Could Mark clarify who he means? Perhaps he can't as he lacks evidence, and that would be libel. I did post a clip by someone who has some red flags nothing to do with sex offenses, which I deleted when someone pointed them out. B4UR1 means before you become a victim of the system used since 2005 when I got involved in activism. B4UR12 is a variation. B4UR1 B4UR1 is another variation. B4UR1. If Mark is implying another meaning, perhaps he could have the conviction to state what he means. Perhaps he lacks evidence and knows this would be libel. For the record, I've never been involved in any way, shape, or form with sexual abuse or offenses of any nature. I can state with absolute confidence nobody will produce legit evidence to the contrary. I haven't knowingly lied about Mark. Perhaps he could be specific on what he's referring to. If I discover any false statements, I'll happily retract them. Working to expose deception that has massively infiltrated the movement isn't negative, it's an essential positive contribution that I'm rightly proud of. As we can see, B4UR1 media seems very level-headed and doesn't just jump to conclusions, unlike the fake weapons expert Mark Steele, who will throw out vile accusations about anyone based on zero credible evidence, who calls out his ludicrous conspiracy grifting bullshit. The bickering continued with another post going out on the Mark Steele Telegram channel. John McIntyre, B4UR1 hold on a minute, B4UR12 dresses as a member of the press like a BBC reporter in Gaza, very distasteful, dresses up as a police officer, very concerning. Calling your media company B4UR12 red flag time. This man is keep posting lots of lies to discredit and cause division across many social media groups, links back to no sex offender associates, fake accounts McToon and Sal Fadley. Mark Steele has zero credible evidence to support the claims he just made about Sal Fadley and MC Toon, but this is a common theme when Mark Steele gets questions on his ludicrous claim or called out for his grifting bullshit. If you call out Mark Steele, you will automatically be branded a pedophile, a sex offender, pedoprotector, and of course everyone who is against Mark Steele is also a Satanist, but it don't stop there. Mark Steele also sends in his little attack dogs, who will trawl through social media and gather information on their victim and family members. Children are fair game, and the moral compass gets thrown out the window. Vile, baseless accusations will be made all over social media about their victims in an attempt to scare them into silence. B4UR1 Media has felt the wrath of these Steele minions firsthand, which compelled them to make a video, which triggered Mark Steele and his minions even more, because B4UR1 Media used footage created by Mohammed Shafiq, Analogical, and the Mind of Steele YouTube channel in their video, which threw the Gateshead gunman and fake weapons expert Mark Steele into a frenzy, which made Mark Steele make a video. Brace yourself for more projection and maximum bullshit from Mark Steele in an attempt to try and silence B4UR1 Media into silence.
Now, we know there's been quite a bit of nonsense, literally nonsense, being put out across the internet. And I'm doing this for that. I'm not doing it because I know who this character is. Right? It's pretty obvious. So, B4UR1 and B4UR12, well, B4UR12 is a prepubescent, let's see here, monitor, right? Prepubescence.
We are just 19 seconds into Mark Steele's video, and Mark Steele is already showing signs of psychological projection. Projection refers to unconsciously taking unwanted emotions or traits you don't like about yourself and attributing them to someone else. Bear in mind that Mark Steele made this video days after B4UR1 Media posted to Telegram the meaning behind B4UR1 and B4UR12, and it has nothing to do with prepubescence, but Mark Steele can't help himself.
Very culty type thing. B4UR1, that's also a bit culty.
Here we see more projection from Mark Steele, who has just mentioned cults. Here is a little clip of the I Will Not Comply cult that Mark Steele was part of.
I withdraw my consent to be governed by any corrupt, compromised, belligerent, criminal parliament or government. I will not comply.
This cult got truthers to display a yellow profile image and was headed by all the key truthers.
I'm Matt Letitia.
I'm Fiona Rose Diamond.
Ricky Lambert here.
My name is John O'Looney.
My name is Nazarene Vernica.
I'm Charlie Ward.
Red flag time. This cult also included Charlie Ward. Mark Steele and Kate Shemirani have appeared on Charlie Ward's show a few times, even after Charlie Ward confessed to trafficking underage girls to BBC Top of the Pops to get shagged.
Many years ago, I was involved with a certain television personality that allowed me access into the BBC. I used to be able to get onto a very famous program called Top of the Pops. And a lot of the girls would say to me, Charlie, get me on Top of the Pops. And I could take probably 5 or 10 girls on a week. And I said, well, I'll take you on, but you'll end up having to shag with the bloke that, he'll probably want to shag. And they were like, no problem, we come, And there was never a problem.
Right.
Now, 30 years on,
it don't matter that Charlie Ward confessed to trafficking underage girls. He is a truther and pushes the same agendas as all the other key truthers, so Charlie Ward has been accepted and embraced because he has a big following.
However, this character had already posted a number of videos, basically just calling everybody out. I mean, literally everybody, right? Talking about secret meetings, secret lists, absolute, total and out garbage.
So, didn't turn up. Mark didn't question why I didn't turn up, but people that went to that meeting, all of the key truthers, figure this, 150 to 200 people, key truthers in this country, sat there with Fiona Rose Diamond, sat there with Andrew Bridgen, a Conservative MP, known to have aggressive bouts. People might like him because they've seen snippets of him. We don't know him. He's a politician. We only know what they allow us to see about him. Keep that in mind. Use your discernment, guys. We need to be on our toes with this shit at all times. Right? But he's a politician. He might say the right things here and there. But, but everybody's there, right? Everybody's there. Mila, come here. Come here. Right, yeah, so basically, sorry, there's a horse over there. I don't want my dog chasing it. So, all of those people that are at that meeting, you're there with 150 to 180 people. Now, bear in mind, guys, you're going to get triggered by me saying this because you don't want it to be true. You think, oh yeah, there's this guy that's going to save us. He's a politician. He's really good. He's clean. He's this and he's that. But he's a politician, guys. How do you get into being a politician? How do you get on those benches? How do you get on those benches? Do you trust somebody on those benches?
As we have just heard from Mikey Freeman, the shill list is a very, very real thing. This list was compiled by Mark Sexton, the ex-bailiff and copper that the truffers see as their savior, even though he has failed at everything he has ever done during his time as a truffer. Mark Sexton's secret meeting was another failure. After his shill list and invitation was made public, this list had all the key truffers divided by region and included all the conspiracy-influenced grifters that have been leading people up the garden path over the last few years. Mikey Freeman told us all about this secret meeting when he called out Mark Sexton, but Mikey Freeman only called out Mark Sexton when the list got exposed to save his own skin. Mikey had been working with Mark Sexton behind the scenes for months. He knew all about the shill list of key truffers and Mark Sexton's data collection website, but only spoke out when the list got exposed. Mikey Freeman didn't have his truffers followers' best interests at heart.
Unfortunately, seeing new people come into the movement may believe this type of nonsense. Now, I'm always, mindful of people who are either significantly paranoid or controlled by the state. Now, this character was having a go at Andrew Bridgen, who, by the way, the state absolutely are in. Mark Sexton and others, all the people who are doing something in the right direction, this character wants to pull them all to bits.
Yes, we've had help from Andrew Bridgen, who I like, by the way. I don't care what anybody thinks. He's a Freemason. No, he's not. He's gone public. He is not a Freemason. He's made it clear. Whether he's controlled opposition, I don't give a rat's ass. He's helped us tip that over the edge and get a little bit more publicity that we need. Same with Asim Malhotra. Give him a break. He's helping us. We use these people to get what we need.
Using people to get what these people want is exactly what the MP-turned-conspiracy influencer Andrew Bridgen has done when he appeared on the Charlie Ward show claiming to be fighting for humanity and our children. Andrew Bridgen is just one of many celebrity conspiracy-influencing grifters who has recently popped up on the truther scene and used his parliamentary privileges to spout well-debunked conspiracy theories taken straight from Mark Sexton's evidence pack, which got him booted from the Conservative Party. After he compared the virus vaccination program to the Holocaust, the Times newspaper wrote a very detailed article on Andrew Bridgen back in January of 2023. After weeks of witnessing Andrew Bridgen espouse increasingly bizarre opinions about COVID-19, the Conservative Party's patience snapped on Wednesday when he compared the virus vaccination program to the Holocaust. The MP's suspension followed a slew of outlandish claims, including that the virus might have been a bioweapon created by Dr. Anthony Fauci, who led the pandemic response in the U.S. Despite a reputation for fruity comments, Bridgen's increasing willingness to parrot well-worn conspiracy theories and anti-vax tropes had been troubling colleagues. After he posted the now-deleted message on Twitter invoking the Holocaust, Simon Hart, the chief whip, said Bridgen, 58, had crossed a line and he launched a full investigation with the support of Rishi Sunak. Those involved in the government's vaccine rollout, which Bridgen had lauded, said his case was a classic example of radicalization by anti-vaxxers who operate like grooming gangs. While I agree with this statement that the anti-vaxxers do operate like grooming gangs, I wholeheartedly believe this is not the case with Andrew Bridgen, who hasn't been groomed but has seen an opportunity to make plenty of money grifting from the gullible. Soon after his dismissal from the Conservative Party, Andrew Bridgen launched a legal funds donation grift to Sumat Hancock and raised well over £80,000 and months on. People are asking questions.
Merry Griftmas, when will you update folk on the suing Hancock situation? Radio silence for over 6 months of e-bigging. Where is the money, Andrew, currently?
Ho ho ho! At the time of making this video, Andrew Bridgen has managed to grift a total of £110,408 towards of his goal of £250,000 for a case that will go nowhere, but the truthers seen Andrew Bridgen as their new savior, so threw money at him thinking he was fighting Matt Hancock. Grifters gonna grift. And like I said before, Andrew Bridgen wasn't groomed by anti-vaxxers. He was in financial difficulty before he became a truther influencer and seen an opportunity to grift from the gullible truthers stupid enough to donate to him.
He had a 15 to 20 million pound fortune. He had a very successful business, all taken off him by his family. His house, I went to his house 2 years ago.
As we have just heard, Mark Sexton was at Andrew Bridgen's home 2 years ago, which would have been around the time that Andrew Bridgen was actively promoting the jab, but was conspiring with an ex-copper turned conspiracy influencer at his home. See how the truthers are all being played.
And he's actually admitted he's been policing the movement from the get-go. He told George that from Liverpool, that he's been policing the movement from the get-go. Well, who for? So he says it's obviously just keeping a check on everybody, but he continually posts memes and nonsense. And the most serious thing, he's been linking back to a number of Brigade 77 members, child molesters.
Warning, bullshit alert.
Traffickers, right?
That was bullshit.
People who have signs and symbols and video footage that alludes to the fact that they're into the kiddie stuff, okay? So
is Mark Steele projecting again? Mark Steele has a deep fascination with accusing people of the most vile of things without any credible evidence. Mark just can't help himself. He thinks of kiddies and his perverted mind runs wild. Next will be a clip that may trigger some survivors.
Quality were like little babies, and my God, I don't know how we got here, Mark, but somehow we've got to get out of it.
Listen, when I left school, I stopped doing as I was told. When I was at school, I wouldn't do as I was told, because a lot of the kids I went to school with, the headmasters take them in the toilets, right, and pull their pants down and stick his up their arse.
That's where he really started to prick my attention. And what he says here is, in fact, anyone who challenged him is a Satanist and sex offender. Well, unfortunately, that has been correct over the last few years.
Bullshit level, DEFCON 5.
I've had several people who are, as a matter of fact, and have been proven to be police informants, sex offenders, and Satanists. I've got the video footage.
Mark Steele don't have any evidence of anyone being a Satanist or sex offender or police informant. What he does have is a stupid video compiled by his minions that link pizza and a My Little Pony meme to child abuse. Like I have said before, if Mark Steele has evidence of any child abuse, he should go straight to the police.
They're pulling all our signs and symbols to each other across video footage, all that demonic symbology, as well as the fact the My Little Pony, pizza, hot dog, all that sort of kiddie fiddlings type stuff as well, you see. And we've put a lot of these dodgy characters to bed in the past, but this kid wants to drag it all back up, right? And obviously that's why I'm doing this video, just to put him back in his box.
What Mark Steele actually means is that B4UR1 media has realized the truther movement is full of lying, grifting conspiracy influencers and has been warning people who might be daft enough to follow these Muppets. This has really upset Mark Steele because he is one of the Muppets B4UR1 media has called out as a lying, grifting con man.
Okay, because one of the things I can tell you about, right, I mean, these are the real characters who we should be concerned about, these two pieces of dirt. That's the real enemy, that's correct. The side goes on, Mark goes harder than most. Well, yes, that's correct, and it is a fact. But you see, this character, right, he doesn't play in facts, does he? He just is a deceiver and makes stuff up, and has made stuff up about just about everyone. So anyway, there's a bit of a conversation between Sai and someone else, and then Bar Media, you keep talking about some seniors, none of the people you have slandered post. Right, so I replied, right, none of the people you've slandered, right, post Brigade 77. So I've never seen Andrew Bridgen, Mark Sexton, I've never seen any of them post any of Brigade 77's content or any child molester video content. However, this B4UR1 or B4UR12, he has, right? So we've got that. He actually had to remove them because it was pretty demonstrable, and he was basically outed for it. But he has connections with these type of characters. But let's just, out the cult member you are, okay? So I'm basically saying to him, right, here and now, do you renounce Satan and all his works and ways? It's a dead simple question, not complicated. I can answer that very quickly, right? Absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt. I have said it to people in the past, just to find out if they are cult members, because a lot of the deception is being driven by cult members, right? So we've got this B4UR1 character, right? Because I know, you see, they cannot renounce their master, okay? What they can say is he doesn't exist, but we haven't even getting that here. So what they do is they just ignore it.
Mark Steele likes to bang on a lot about Satanists and Satan, but I ask again, is this more projection coming from the Gateshead gunman and fake weapons expert? A few years back, Mark Steele featured in a movie called 5G Apocalypse. This movie was produced and directed by Sacha Stone, whose name is an anagram of Satan echoes and chose Satan. This may seem just a coincidence, but seeing how Sacha Stone's logo for his Grift International Tribunal for Natural Justice has a logo which is very, very similar to the logo for the Satanic Church, starts to ring alarm bells. Will Mark Steele denounce Sacha Stone for his use of satanic symbolism and having a name that's an anagram of Satan echoes and chose Satan?
So here you go. Obviously, he may be known as a mistake, guilty by association. Well, that's not the case, because you see, he hasn't answered it. So what he does, he puts a picture, a mem. Now, we know that the Brigade 77 lot put a load of memes out. Okay, so he's got a mem of Andrew Bridgen. All I know is Andrew Bridgen has just exposed the fact in Parliament that the injections... Yeah, I know that. What I do know about this B4UR1 character is that all he does is slander anybody who the state apparatus have got a bit of a hard-on for.
Is this more projection from the fake weapons expert Mark Steele, who can't see to go more than a minute without dropping a sexual reference?
Okay, so he goes on, puts another one of Mark, right? Well, it's just absolute, it's just horseshit. But this is the type of characters they are. So they clip something, make it out to be something that it most certainly isn't. That doesn't look like anything to me, right? See, everyone should be announcing the Synagogue of Satan.
Synagogue of Satan is a reference from the King James Version of the Bible in Revelation 2.9, which says as follows, I know thy works, and tribulation, and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews, and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. The accusation that the synagogue was a synagogue, not of Judeans but of Satan, is connected with an internal dispute on how one faithful to Israelite traditions should live with the Roman economic system. The author of Revelation was arguing that there should be no compromise with Rome, and those who did compromise were not fit to be called Judean. The synagogue, on the other hand, argued that peaceful coexistence with Rome was possible. It is suggested that the synagogue accused members of the church in Smyrna of not being Judean because they refused to pay the special Judean tax. But Mark Steele has used the reference Synagogue of Satan because it plays into his daft satanic conspiracy that has no basis in reality.
Okay, that's exactly what we should be doing, because that's what it tells you. We are dealing with the Synagogue of Satan and these Satanists, you see. So I'm asking him again, you still haven't renounced Satan and all his works, so what's the hold up? Now, what is the hold up? It's pretty straightforward. It's a simple thing to do, right? And guess what? Another comment I've made to him, amazing, you have a lot of clips of others that deflect that you still haven't renounced Satan and all his works. So we're still waiting, you see. Why? Why are we having to wait as long? Because it's pretty straightforward to me. He then goes on, we have some lovely cane corso plus. What's that supposed to be? So this is totally blanket. Yes, and you won't deny your leader. A lot of people on there, yeah. He still hasn't denied it, right? Then he puts another one of just stop it. Why? Well, I'm just asking you. I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking you a question, right? So why isn't he answered? Well, you see the whole point, and which goes on. No answer. Nothing. Yeah. Right. The fact you're having trouble renouncing Satan is confirming my suspicion of why you post Satanist content. Fadley McToon nonsense most are, and now we know the link. There you go. That's how you out them. Okay, dead simple. They cannot come back here because what they can't do is they cannot renounce their master.
Oh, shut up, you cunt!